think it's important for Africans to be able to tell their stories. I think that's valuable. I think we have to bear in mind that there's structures and systems, which means that, for example, Western newspapers will presumably employ Western journalists who will be writing a story that appeals to that audience. News services are professed to be global. I don't see why we're not hiring African journalists to tell African stories or Asian journalists to tell Asian stories. I think that's about representation. I think that's important and valuable. There's another issue about opportunity. Do African journalists have a chance to compete, to be able to be hired? I think that's another issue. More importantly as well, perhaps, is that African media can, in this day and age, where we have people who have Twitter accounts, people who are on Skype, can be telling the stories themselves. They don't need to be relying on Western news agents. We're moving into a situation where our continent, or the African continent, is no longer as it once was. We're moving into a situation where the narrative is about Africa rising. But I think what's needed now is some technical skills to do that in a much more effective way. Specialisms. If we're going to write about climate change, understand the political economy of it, understand the funding, understand the grants, understand the processes behind it. It's not just a story about, no, there's not enough rain anymore. It's understanding how do you tap into the various funds. So the specialisms, the technical reporting, I think is important, from the economy through to other issue-based problems. The classic way to do it is to make it human interest. As we've seen through the whole narrative journalism movement, is that you really go deep into the story as best you can. You spend time, you understand it, and you come away with a piece that resonates. I think that's the most vital aspect of real storytelling, which is what we essentially do. Primarily, journalists need to be interested in the stories that they want to tell. I think they need to do their research. They need to find a way into the story and be engaged with the story and the subject matter, and empathy. I think that those are very, very necessary. Without it, you can tell on the page if it's not there. The reason I'm a journalist is because I want to impart my understanding of situations, and I want to understand what's happening, and I want to be able to feel that through my journalism I can provide some kind of knowledge or some kind of insight. So I think that's important. It's incumbent on journalists to be aware of what is around them, current affairs obviously, and then have a yen for reporting or a yen for writing. Read, be aware of what's out there. Media is changing. I think we all read to get fresh ideas, to get new insights, to look at new ways of telling a story. So if you're bored with what you're writing, think of another way to write it. Introduce some humour into it, think of a new lead, do something, but get pleasure in the writing, because then your audience obviously will feel your pleasure and your passion.